Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Then grab your zabuton, light your favorite incense, and let's get to it. Welcome to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again. I greatly appreciate it. And just a quick update. Of course, you know that www.expansionmastery.com has been completely remade and relaunched. And I am currently working on an audio program regarding breathing practices. This particular audio program has been in the making for at least 30 years. I want it to be one of the best, most comprehensive, authentic programs available on the breathing methods of spirituality. And I've just completed working with some musicians to create the opening music for it, as well as graphic designers for the brand logo. So I am currently recording this new program, and it will be put out in various stages that I'm referring to as modules. Right now it looks like there's going to be 6 or 7 modules in this program for you, and each one is going to have an in-depth explanation as to what the practice is, what you should expect to get from it, the overall benefits of such a thing. And then there will be another file that will give you the guided practice, where I will personally guide you through it until you get comfortable with it enough to do it on your own. And yes, because so many of you keep asking, yes, there will be a version of the Breath Bridge. It will be one of the modules. So if you're just interested in the Breath Bridge, you can purchase just that module, or you can go through the entire program. This version of the Breath Bridge that I'm including is going to be greatly expanded, far more in depth than the original version that I released. So I hope you will be happy with that. I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope that that practice will serve you greatly in any of your meditative practices. Okay, so practice number 3, right? This is a new series where I am guiding you through the various practices in my book, Expansion Mastery, and we are beginning in the Heavens section, naturally, and this is the 3rd challenge in that section. This is Sacred Art, Respect for All Divine Representations. Now, I know, yet again, you could be wondering, what the heck does this have to do with actual spiritual practices? Well, it is through looking at understanding and appreciating sacred art that we are able to create sacred spaces, that we are able to raise our vibration, that we are able to invoke a sense of appreciation, and just stay a little bit more mindful of our connection to the divine. Now, in the book, I recommend that you begin with artistic representations from whatever belief system you may have. If you don't have a belief system at all, find something that appeals to you, just something that speaks to you. You feel it in your heart. You feel a connection to the divine just by looking at it. And this is a great way to start. And then from there, you can branch out and understand the sacredness that is supposed to be within any of these religious or spiritual type of representations. Think about it. There's a reason so much of this exists, and it serves a purpose in our spiritual training, and more so in the day-to-day application of what we're doing. For instance, my wife and I go all around the world and we visit sacred sites. And there are systems, right? Spiritual systems, religious systems that we have a little bit more of an affinity for than others, but I don't subscribe to any religious dogma. But we still go to these things. We go to temples, we go to cathedrals, we go to all these different places, and we can go into any of them and feel the energy and appreciate the art. Now, as you well know, I'm not much for the Christian-based religions, but we did visit a couple cathedrals while we were in Spain, and they were beautiful. Yes, of course I can appreciate them. We visited an 1,000-year-old abbey when we were in Italy. It's incredible. So, you can go in and like in one of the cathedrals, they had some of the original statues carved by Michelangelo. I mean, how cool is that, right? How cool is that? Just the history and the representation of it and the artistry of it it was overwhelming. It was magnificent. So we can appreciate these artistic spiritual structures, whether it's a Buddhist temple high in the mountains in Japan or whether it's a cathedral in the heart of Spain. It doesn't matter. They're still fantastic, and you get this feeling, your heart opens a little bit, and you have this appreciation when you go in, especially when you understand what you're seeing. And this is the key. When you understand what you're looking at, you understand the meaning behind it, the symbolism, then it's much easier for it to invoke the proper sensations in you, the proper mental attitude. And one of the most important things that I share in the book is to attain some of this art for yourselves. My wife and I have some very, very old pieces in our art collection that are extremely meaningful to us because we understand the symbolic nature of the art. We understand what it means, what it's doing, what it's supposed to invoke. We know the practices that it's representing. And so we have these things professionally framed and all around our home. See, this turns your home into a sanctuary of sorts, right? It brings a sense of sacredness into your home. And when you live a spiritually based life, this is extremely not only helpful, but comfortable, comforting even when you come back home after you've been working all day or you've been out running errands, and so much craziness out there in the world, and you're holding your vibration as high as you can, and you come home and it's just nice. You see the art when you return home and understand its meaning, and it allows you to easily center yourself again and realign with your true nature and purpose. So in my book, I recommend beginning this sort of practice by going to your local bookstore and looking at some of the books on art, maybe even purchase them, and then work your way up to visiting a museum. My wife and I love to visit museums in other countries. We go to museums here in our own country as well. But it seems no matter what country we find ourselves in, we end up in a museum or two. And we really enjoy that. The history, the culture, it really lets you connect to that. And it's a very powerful thing. So there are a lot of ways you can start to appreciate this sacred art. It can be a painting, it can be a book, it can be a statue. It doesn't matter. Whatever appeals to you is fine. That's where you start. We have several statue pieces in our home. We have numerous paintings. We have all kinds of things, ritual objects. We have a lot of things that we like to have around because it's a constant reminder to us to stay connected to that. Your home should be a sacred place for you. It should be your sanctuary. It should be where you can go and your vibration just comes right back into alignment, and your heart opens. It feels good, and that allows us then to take that out into the world. If you're so inclined, you can even get involved in creating some of this. In various systems, you can do things like copy scriptures, and yes, that is a work of art. You can draw your own mandala or participate in creating a sand mandala. Yes, a work of sacred art. You can paint your own pictures, sculpt your own statues if you have that kind of talent. I do quite a bit of drawing, but I don't have that kind of talent. I did draw a picture of a religious figure for one of my teachers in Japan, and he kept it in his temple for 3 years, where he blessed it and he stamped it and made it an official what's a word? Maybe like a good talisman, right? And then once it was all charged up, he gave it back to me. And I had that for a little while, and I shared that, gave it as a gift to one of my private students. So now I passed that particular sacred art piece on to one of my students who can definitely enjoy that sort of thing. You see, then something like that has some history, has a connection to 3 different generations of practitioners, and it carries that nice energy. And then it even means something to each of us. And I think that's very special. So spend some time with a piece of sacred art and observe it. See, today we're so used to the fast pace of scrolling through screens and things on the internet, and we're so used to that. And if you can get out at all and look at these pieces of art in person, I highly recommend that. Don't sit and scroll them on your computer or your phone. If that's all you're capable of doing, fine, it's a start, but realize there's just no connection there. It's dead. But it'll allow you to determine what you appreciate anyway, so you could use it that way. But spend some time with it instead of just glancing at something and go, oh, yeah, or thinking, oh, yeah, I know what that is, and filtering it out. I mean, really take some time to look at it. My wife and I have a tea room with the Tommy mat floors and everything that we put in, and we have numerous pieces of sacred art in that room. And a lot of times as we're drinking tea, enjoying some matcha or a nice genmai or gyokuro, right? Some of these nice teas, or some teas from Spain or Nepal. We're sitting in there and we won't speak. We'll just contemplate the art that we have. We'll look at it, feel it, because we have some incredible pieces in that room. Our living room is like a museum with sacred art. Now, to most people, it would be meaningless, but a lot of these pieces hold an incredible amount of meaning for my wife and I. Some of these things we have purchased directly from temples or directly from artists in other countries who draw these things, paint these things, sculpt these things personally for various religions and spiritual systems. So that's what they do for a living, and it's incredible. And you can consider other forms that sacred art can come in, such as pendants or bracelets or whatever, right? So there are various forms of jewelry. There are forms of clothing. See, all of these things are still sacred representations. They're still pieces of art, and we can wear them, right? Some people get tattoos with such thing. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that's an option. Yes, I do have a few tattoos, and each one is sacred in its meaning to me. Just some transparency there for you. So find what ways appeal to you and what you enjoy as far as a way to interact with sacred art. And there are, of course, various spiritual systems and religions that use sacred art as ritual objects in meditative practices. So the importance of this cannot be understated. And again, it's a very simple, practical way to enhance your interaction with your own spirituality and with the spiritual practices. So if you're paying close attention to these challenges, these practices, we're dealing with very exoteric practices here, very practical things. We'll get into the esoteric ones, of course, but these are just very practical, very simple. Going out at night, looking up at the night sky, connecting to the sky, relaxing, connecting to nature and the heavens, engaging in a daily form of stretching of the body, and then jumping around a little bit, even just a little bit, just to keep your body healthy, to keep things shook up, to keep you light, to let go of gravity for a moment. And now just enjoying sacred art. Downtown where I live, we have a very old mission there, right in the heart of the town. And when you walk down a certain street, you look up the hill as it's going up the mountain, and you can see this old mission there. It's very cool. It adds a lot of charm and personality to the downtown area through its sacred architecture. But we have to reclaim our ability to stop and notice these things and to pay attention to them, to understand them, to ponder them, to appreciate how old they may be, instead of filtering these things out. And that's what's happening as we lose our humanity, as we lose touch with our spiritual nature. We filter these things out. And we're so stuck in our head at that point that we're just focused on our goal and that's it. And that's not good. Hey, we want to be able to, what do they used to say, stop and smell the roses. Well, we need to stop. We need to take pause and be able to appreciate sacred art. That sacredness invokes, it ignites a connection to our spirituality. So the challenge is this: to begin reconnecting to art, sacred art in particular, enjoying it, interacting with it, so that you understand all of the symbolism involved and feel how it can help you open your heart and raise your vibration. And if you don't have a sacred space where you live in your home, create one. It's very simple to begin doing with a nice piece of sacred art. This can transform an area into a very sacred space for you. Wear a pendant or some mala around your wrist, something that will constantly remind you of the sacredness. My wife and I bought a set from a temple in Japan that has the Heart Sutra carved into it, all around it, it's beautiful. And we wear that everywhere. And it's a constant reminder of us to keep our heart open and to keep this connection to the sacredness of the teachings, as well as our connection to the divine. Not too difficult, right? These are just simple things, but they do make a difference. Think about this. If you had a hard day at work and you come home and your house has, no sacred representation in it, and it's a mess, right? There's clutter everywhere. Things, haven't been dusted in a while. How does that make you feel? How is that going to make you feel? Are you likely to enter into that home with an open heart and have your vibration reattuned to where you usually have it? No, not likely. Now think about this. If you come home and your house has no clutter, it's clean, and you have sacred art on display. Think about that. All you have to do is you come home and you have the cleanliness, you have the sacred art. It allows you to attune your vibration to the highest sense because this is where you practice, right? So this is where you get to have the highest level of achievement, and you reattune to that because that's the energy in your home. My wife and I have so many people, whenever they come over, they go, wow, you guys just have the most tranquil setting. And, thank you. Yes, we probably do. And people would even say that in my martial arts school. And in that school, we trained hard. It was rough. It was very rough on a lot of people. We didn't train lightly. And yet there was still a sense of tranquility to the place that was observed by many, many high-ranking people. I mean, this is your immediate surroundings. This is where you spend a lot of time. And that space should be sacred to you. And if you're truly going to live with an emphasis on spirituality, then shouldn't your surroundings where you live also represent that? I feel that that's the case. And of course, we cannot neglect the sacred beauty of nature. I mean, go on a hike in a mountain or go to the beach and the ocean, and the sacredness is all around you, right? I mean, the sacred artistry of nature is second to none. It's incredible. So you can see the sacredness in nature also here, and see how something like that is incredibly lacking in a big city. But when we can connect to nature and observe and appreciate the beauty of the trees, of the mountain, of the scenery, it's quite breathtaking if you've never hiked a decent-sized mountain. One, it's great to be out in nature getting fresh air and sunshine, but then when you get to the top and you turn around and you get that view, you just get this incredible view for miles and miles. Wow. I mean, it definitely takes your breath away. It's amazing, and it's powerful. So this is another way we can appreciate the sacredness of art through interacting with nature. So, I mean, it's simple, right? You spend most of the time looking at a screen anyway. So you spend all this time looking at a little tiny screen. You spend all of that time staring at your computer screen, your TV screen, your cell phone screen, watching things, looking at things. Get out, get involved, look at some real things, get some things that are meaningful, not entertainment, meaningful. Entertainment is not meaningful. And there's a time and a place for entertainment. I'm not knocking that, it's fun, but you have to spend more time with something meaningful, such as sacred art, than you do staring at meaningless entertainment. For when you're distracted or addicted to entertainment, and that's all you're doing is staring at those screens, you are not living a spiritual life. You're not even living. You're existing. You're just sitting there. Okay, like a lump, nothing is going on. We're supposed to be up and moving and living and getting in touch with our body and getting in touch with our mind, getting these things mastered, under control, connecting to the divine. That's living. That's living a fully engaged life. The more time you spend staring at any of these screens, the less time you spend living, and the more you are disconnected from living a fully engaged life. This is a practice that I encourage my students to do when they visit from various states. They come out to train with me and they're visiting, and while they're here, I encourage them. I see, we have books of sacred art. Some of these things are very rare. You got artwork on the walls. Check it out, right? take the time and after the training session, walk around in the living room and look around and ask questions about it, appreciate it, whatever, but enjoy it and get into that practice. And a lot of them do that. A lot of them now, they notice if we get a new piece or something. And a lot of the stuff isn't expensive. It's just meaningful. See, it doesn't have to be super expensive to be meaningful. So don't allow the ego to create this false belief that, oh, well, I don't have the money to have any of that. Yeah, we have some things that are rare, but even some of those we've gotten good deals on. And basically, it's just because, it's not a popular thing. It's something we enjoy that's meaningful to us, and that's the main thing. And I would ask you to realize that you are meaningful to me. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going through this new series with me of the challenges in my book, Expansion Mastery. And thank you for passing along the podcast, sharing the podcast, subscribing to the YouTube channel, doing all the social media stuff, the likes and the shares and the positive comments. All of that stuff goes a long way. Also, make sure to visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. There's some new blog articles on there for you. There's all kinds of sacred art representation on the website, so you can check it out there if you're stuck behind a computer for a little while. And, of course, you can order your signed copy of Expansion Mastery at a discounted rate, and you can get my ebook that's newly revised and expanded on reinventing yourself through realignment. And soon you will be able to get one of the greatest breathing programs available to you. And I highly recommend you check that out. Check back to the website often. Those people who have entered their name on the site, you guys will know before anyone else when that program is available, and you'll be able to get yours first. So make sure that you check the website often. Make sure that you throw your name and your email address in there. I keep all of that private. I don't sell it or give it away. I wouldn't do that to you. So until next time, my friends, I wish you all the best in your practices and your life. Take care.